Exercise caution and restraint. Those were the words of the Employment and Labor Relations Minister, Haruna Iddrisu, to striking labor unions here in Ghana. Well, the unions who are on their third day of strike have been asked by the minister to come to the dialogue table as they have no choice than to vest their future in government.
To work with public sector workers to ensure that the structure and mechanism put in place guarantees any foreseeable or unforeseeable future risks. If you cannot trust government, who can you trust?
Well, already the strike has been declared illegal. I'll bring you into that one as well. But this is today's big story, and tonight we'll find out from the striking members of the forum whether this posturing from the minister would in any way push them to be on the negotiating table. My name is Prince Minka. Now, the striking labor unions have insisted government must not single-handedly select a company to manage the pensions funds. Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Haruna Iddrisu, at a press conference earlier on today said it will be risky not to involve government in the fund management. He argues unions as proposed by the forum are not permanent and may not be able to guarantee the risk involved.
It is a potential future risk that both government and unions and workers cannot anticipate today. You won't know whether the managed will be managed well or not. But at least you can trust government. Government is government. It probably may not be my government today, but a future government, but it's government. So the question I like to pose to Ghanaian workers and Ghanaian citizens, is it not better to entrust your future in the hands of government than a union worker or a union leader who himself may be due for retirement possibly?
Well, public sector unions, 12 of them actually, including the Ghana Education Service, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Ghana Medical Association, Judicial Service Workers Union, and many others have all laid down their tools in protest of a government's handling of the Tier 2 pension scheme. Well, the workers also want government to release funds accrued from their second-tier pension scheme. Well, Sector Minister Haruna Iddrisu, again at a press conference, is asking them not to be worried as their monies are safe. Now, check this. It has been invested in treasury bills and will yield returns, and that's according to the minister.
We've heard concerns that where is the money? We want our money. The money is with the Bank of Ghana. The governor is a custodian of all monies, including that money. And I'm happy to note that it's been invested in treasury bills and has yielded some returns. Indeed, very good returns.
Well, we can now get some responses from the various labor unions, but what you also need to know is that there's already a writ of summons, and we're going to put that on the screen for you shortly, and we'll let you know, the writ indicating that the current strike action by the labor unions, as according to government, is illegal, and we'll let you into the number of unions that the writ is actually referring to. There you go on the screen now. And of course, the National Association of Graduate Teachers and all the labor unions, of course, as contained in the summons there. And there's a signature there by the Attorney General. And we're going to be getting some response soon. And there you go on your screens a writ of summons there. Very well. So we can now get some responses now from the various labor unions. And we'll first go to the National Association of Graduate Teachers. And shortly we'll be joined by Christian Addai-Poku, who is the president of the association. Now, question is, can this posturing from government really get the various labor unions on the dialogue table? And already we're hearing that civil society groups are unhappy about the situation. We can also speak to labor experts. Shortly, we're joined by Mohammed Afum, and we obviously will get his thoughts and reaction to this. But on Facebook, Imani Ghana has presented its position on this matter. Franklin Kujo, who is the executive director of Imani Ghana, has stated that he's angered at the posturing of government and doubts whether government will be able to get the striking labor unions to call off their strike, even though government has indicated or hinted that it is illegal. But earlier on, we were at some of the schools, and already we're beginning to feel the effect of the strike action. And here you are, this picture or this visuals for you, of course, students or school children loitering about, their teachers not around because their teachers are on strike, and you can see some of them fidgeting with their mobile phones, whilst others took advantage to rather play football. Let's go on the phone lines now. We're joined by the president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Christian Addai-Poku. Christian, thank you very much for joining us here on today's Big Story.
Good evening.
Now,
listening to your listeners.
Very well. Well, as you heard from the Employment and Labor Minister, he's asking you to trust government, partner with government, and come on the dialogue table. Let's discuss and find a way forward in dealing with the grievances you have as far as your pension is concerned. But then again, government reiterates that your strike is illegal.
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate that on one hand, government is asking us to trust it, and on the other hand, issuing threats all over. It's not fair, and we don't think that is the way we will be able to resolve this issue. From what I heard from the press conference, I think it is clear that the Minister of Employment didn't say anything new. It is the reiteration of what he has said over the past 3-4 days. The only thing that is new to me is that he tried to peg himself of what he said wrongly at the beginning, that the funds are available and that they are lodged with Bank of Ghana. The quantum is 400 and something million Ghana cedis, which now, when the journalist pinned him down today, he failed to confirm. Now he's saying that people are doing computation and therefore they will come up with the figures. If the minister was not sure of the figures, why did he come out to tell Ghanaians pick figures that I would say he cooked? And so if you want somebody to trust you in such a discourse and in such a dialogue, you don't start with wrong figures being spewed to the public and spinning things out and telling people to have confidence in you when you know perfectly that you have not really verified and double-checked your figures before you come out.
Now, there was one other issue that he raised, which is also of prime concern going forward and looking into the issues with regards to your pension scheme, Tier 2 for that matter. He talked about fund managers and the fact that if it goes into the hands of the unions as you propose, there are some risk involved, and that's the more reason why you need to heavily involve government partnership for that matter.
Well, I don't know. I don't blame our minister so much because he's still new. He's still studying the Pension Act and all the technicalities. But let me correct one thing. The money, the pension funds or contributions from our members will not be paid to a union like NAGRAT, NAD, or any other union. The unions within the services have, in conjunction with their governing council. For example, if you come to Ghana Education Service Management, in conjunction with the union, set up the scheme. And it is, and we have government representatives from Ghana Education Service on the board and the union members on the board. But the board does not handle money. The money is taken by Controller Accountant General directly into a custodian account with a bank that we have all agreed and selected. And then the bank fund manager is appointed by the board because the board itself doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to manage the funds. So they get people who have the expertise in fund management, and then they entrust this business in their hands to be able to manage the funds for us. The funds go with their own securities. For example, the custodians are supposed to go for insurance to cover the money that they will be taking custody of. And so it is not that the money just go out like that. Two, let me also say that it is not 100% that government of Ghana can guarantee the funds for us. There is nowhere in the act that says that the government of Ghana is the guarantor. What about the private sector? What about the quasi-governmental organizations that have set up their own schemes and government is not a guarantor and are running their schemes? In case of any collapse, who is going to guarantee their funds for them? So that argument is flawed in the first place. We believe that if you go to SSNIT right now, SSNIT is a defined benefit contribution or pension scheme. Government of Ghana owes SSNIT more than 800 million Ghana cedis from January to June as we speak. SSNIT is collapsing. But Ghanaians are quiet. We don't know. They are not coming out. When this issue started, SSNIT has started publishing things. They are releasing issues. If you go to Daily Graphic yesterday, they have started releasing issues. Go to SSNIT site, they are releasing issues, making us aware that they are also vulnerable. Unfortunately, the regulator, which is MPRA, because it is also a government agency, they cannot pin government down to do the right thing. It's just like a director who is there, who is going to direct the director. The government of Ghana is making a mistake. So can MPRA have the right to be able on the cloud, to be able to tell government that what you're doing is wrong? That is the problem we face now.
And so, in effect, what you're saying is a big no to government. If government is asking that some sort of partnership be done in order to ensure that it is able to curtail any risk that may be involved, in as much as you push that the unions handle the management of the fund.
No, we are not against partnership with government. What we are saying is that we, as much as possible, want to insulate governmental control from the scheme.
Okay.
That is such that unions will have higher control over the scheme than government will have. In that case, government, if it defaults in payment or migrating funds into the scheme, then the unions can take government on. But if government has total control over the funds, for 6 months, if monies are not being transferred as it is now, in the case that you have a defined contribution where when you are going on retirement, it is the money that government has remitted into the scheme and then the returns on the investment that has been made, which is used to pay you. If at the time you're going on retirement, government has not been consistent in paying those monies into the account, you have problems.
Okay.
But if the unions manage the funds or control the funds or have a stronger say in how the funds are managed, if government defaults, the union can take government on. And it will not be dependent only on MPRA to be able to monitor how things are done.
Very well. Let me bring in now Stephen Korkwe, your colleague on the other side, chairman of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association. Steve, thank you very much for joining us on today's big story. So you listened to the minister, and of course, he's asking that you come on the dialogue table. Now, do you get a sense of feeling that your question or your quest to have government yield to your demands is getting close, and that you're likely to call off your strike anytime soon? Assurance, for that matter. Do you get a sense of it?
Well, I think good evening to your viewers. I am a little bit very much worried with some of the comments that are put out there by the Honorable Minister.
What are you worried about specifically?
I'm worried
which ones?
because some of the issues that he brings about, it's not true. You see, I think my brother actually explained matters about the fact that the unions are not going to directly be involved in managing the scheme, because we have gone very far. I mean, 2.5 years ago, when this particular issue came up, the NPRA actually told us to hurriedly make sure that we put the schemes in place. Government was aware about that. Government didn't put up this particular poster of bringing in what they call the One Trustee Alliance to manage all the things. We were put under pressure. All the other various schemes were put under pressure. We were given timelines to make sure that we put this thing. We went through the same regulator, that is the NPRA. We have to find our farm managers, which were screened, and the funds, where the funds are going to be lodged. All these things were screened by the NPRA, the authority that has been put in place by law. So when we have done all this, and these monies are going to be lodged into the funds, we have the fund managers which have gone through, as I said, through the screening with the NPRA, and they have actually alluded to the fact that these have credible. You can go to their website and do everything. Now, we also have the NPRA who, on a monthly basis, as a regulator, is going to regulate and make sure that the funds are not misappropriated. What again do you want? What again? We, as union leaders, want to see this time around actively be involved in our future.
But the point is, I mean, for anyone who has been to the various hospitals for the past few days we've been on strike, any pupil or students that's been to school and perhaps it's not finding their teachers, as we're seeing on our screens now, and of course, as we saw yesterday in some of the hospitals, what should this mean to them, that you're not going to call off your strike anytime soon, Steve?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And I must say that as we from the health sector, we have realized the peculiar nature of our services. And in fact, it was even with a very strong heart, because our other colleagues in the other unions were, withdrawing total. We have to appeal to them for that matter, that because of the peculiar nature of our service, let's arrange so that we can see emergencies and inpatients, that we don't see any casualties. And therefore we decided that we are not only withdrawing services for outpatients. Okay. Pregnant women and children who will be coming, will be seeing all of them. This is what we have put in place because we have the nation at heart. So we have to put this pressure on because of our pension. Come 2015, a lot of our members are going to retire. Look, I can tell you, SNIT has never given us anything that we can write home about. A lot of our professionals who have worked for 35 years, some are receiving 180 Ghana cedis as pension after working so hard as doctors, as farmers. What are you talking about? This time around, we said, second tier, we are going to manage it with government involvement.
When your strike has been declared illegal by government and there's a lawsuit hanging on your head?
Sir, our strike action has been declared what?
Illegal. And there's a lawsuit hanging on your head? You're still
we have not seen any lawsuit yet.
Oh, I showed that to us a couple of moments ago.
We have not seen any. As for me, I have not seen any lawsuit.
Okay,
don't forget that this intended strike action was. We gave notice as far back as July 2014, and we have to withdraw this strike action because we decided that let's give government an opportunity again for us to resolve this matter amicably.
Okay.
July, August, September, we are now 2 months to the first time that our members will get their pension, and we have not seen the issues being resolved.
So what then is the issue? Because one thing runs across when I hear the minister speak earlier on, he talks about the need for you to trust government. Is it that you don't trust government to help manage your funds, or you don't also foresee any risk involved if unions are supposed to manage your funds?
You see, it is not an issue about trust. an issue about going to according to the rules. The rules according to the law, it says second tier should be privately managed. You have to have your scheme properly registered by the regulator. All these things have been done. And I'm saying that 2.5 years ago, when these things were done, where was the government? Why didn't he put up this particular thing that, 2.5 years ago, let us look at this particular issue again. And then we have dragged this thing, we have managed to put these schemes in place. And then just about 2 or 3 months, when our members are going to benefit from this thing, you said you are going to put one alliance, and government now is interested. When did government now become so much interested? We were so much interested 2.5 years ago. That's why we put this thing in place.
Very well.
So if the law has stated all these things and we have put the law in place, who is breaking the law? Is it we or the government?
So how far are you going to go with this? I mean, already there's pressure on you. I mean, looking at the kind of effect that we're beginning to feel as far as your strike action is concerned. And of course, government's posturing that there's a need for you to come and sit on the table with them, dialogue table for that matter. There's a lot of pressure on you, and everybody's looking up to you to call off your strike. So how long are you going to go on with this?
We have a forum, and the forum will decide. When we meet on the forum, we'll discuss all these issues. We'll discuss the nature of our strike. We'll discuss what government is going to put in the plate. Already, we have had invitation by the government to meet. Of course, we'll attend that meeting, and we'll see what government has on the plate.
But prior to that is your meeting as a forum to decide on the way forward. When will that be?
Well, it will be as soon as possible.
How soon will that be, sir?
I cannot tell now.
Very well.
We have a lot of local unions, and we need to consult everybody. Some are staying as far back as Wa and beyond, and some are staying in Kumasi, and we have to draw them to Accra for us to have that meeting.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Stephen Korkwe, for speaking to us. Stephen Korkwe is the chairman of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association. But let me let you into some issues you need to know about the Tier 2 pension scheme as far as the National Pensions Act 2008, Act 7666 is concerned. Well, it requires that the employer actually deducts 5% of the salary of the employee. And it also talks about the fact that contributions such as 5% out of the total of 18.5% be made on behalf of the worker by the employee. And it shall be held by the employer in the trust until remitted to the trustees of the occupational scheme. And the remittance is to be effected within 14 days from the end of each month. Now, what all of us will be asking by now, after hearing from Haruna Idrisu, the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, and of course hearing from some of the labor unions, question is all lost considering the posturing of both parties? Mohamed Afum is a labor expert, and he joins us on the phone lines. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, I've just spoken to two representatives of the labor unions, and they seem to be taking an entrenched position that they're not excited. They don't feel any form of assurance from the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations after hearing him talk about the need to trust government as far as the management of their pension fund is concerned. Does that mean that that's it, and we shouldn't hope for the calling off of the strike anytime soon?
You know, appear to be a very frightening situation for those of us who are suffering under the weight of the strike. But I'm always an optimist. I believe that organized labor and government, both of them mean well, for Ghana and for the workers. And I think that with good faith, both of them can reach an agreement and have this matter resolved. Even though it appears now both of them have taken entrenched positions. I know that a meeting has been scheduled for Monday or Tuesday. Let us not speculate. Let them meet and let us see whether how things will play out.
Now, beyond the speculations are the issues, and again, some of the issues that played out at the press conference by the minister. What's the fact that the management of the Tier 2 fund can be best done if there's some sort of partnership, if you will, between government and the labor unions. And government argues that if it is left in the hands of the unions, who are pushing for a specific union to handle the pension fund, there are risks involved. And for that matter, government should be heavily involved in dealing with this. From where you stand as a labor expert, what's the way to go, sir?
Well, this is not an issue about industrial relations. It's an issue about pension management. You know, I believe that the law has robust, safeguards to prevent abuse of thing. In the first place, it's not the unions who are going to manage these pension funds of their members. There are structures. First, you have the trustees, and the trustees, you have members of the maybe union representatives as well as government representatives. You have the custodian who keeps the money. You have the fund managers who manage, the funds. Then you have the MPRA, which is the regulator that will ensure that all these, some of whom are licensed by the regulator, comply with the provisions of the law. So I think that there are enough safeguards, to prevent any abuse of the pension funds. It's not like ordinary provident fund by institutions, maybe by the unions or by corporate bodies. This is a pension fund established by law. So it is not something that someone can describe as susu collection by the unions. And there are enough safeguards which I believe that will ensure that the funds are managed well.
Okay, very well, Mohammed Afum, thank you very much. Let me move on now to the other line, get on and bring in Austin Gama. He's also a labor expert. Austin, listening from the other side and noting very well the posturing of both parties here as far as the strike action is concerned. Have we reached a deadlock already?
Thank you. I'm not too sure that is the language at this point in time. I'm thinking that it's just that both sides have not positioned themselves well to have a good dialogue in resolving this matter. But I think they should, in the coming days, be able to get together and help themselves by resolving it, by extension helping all of us.
But how can this be done when already the posturing of government is that this particular strike action is illegal? I can put on the screen again a writ of sermon, served by government and signed by the Attorney General. How would this help matters?
Well, unfortunately, both sides appear to be holding on to a position which shouldn't be the case. That notwithstanding, labor and management have always been in this kind of tango, and when the time comes, the one will have to initiate the move. Normally, the employer will have to initiate the move, which by some information that we all have, clearly shows that hopefully by Tuesday, they should be able to get together to talk. Going to court shouldn't be, it's in the interest of everybody in this country. Once they are going to Supreme Court to seek interpretation, as far as interpretation is concerned, there's no other body in this country that is supposed to be interpreting the law. It's only the Supreme Court that does that. We are applicable, we apply the law in practice, and where we have doubts or there is a dismal picture, we go to the Supreme Court for interpretation. So people should not overly worry themselves about the case of interpretation.
So then, say Tuesday, should we be hopeful, if there should be any meeting at all, should we be hopeful when already we're beginning to feel the impact of the strike? Should we be hopeful that the strike may be called off?
I think so. I think they should be able to find a way of, this is a very clear case. It's actually a defined contributory scheme. Since the operative word is contributory.
Exactly.
It's both the employer and the workers that contribute. It's an enterprise-based scheme. I was one of the commissioners that wrote the scheme. So, to be honest with you, it's a contributory scheme. It is intended that the employer will find a way of inviting the workers' leadership. They will sit together, have a good dialogue, and find a mutually agreeable fund manager to manage the fund. It's not intended to be run.
Who would that be, and how involved would government be in terms of managing the fund?
Government is the principal employer. the workers have a conduit through the unions that they engage. And so the union is the machinery through which this kind of dialogue is come forth. So the principal employer being government, and who eventually, in the unlikely event of any disturbance about the pension fund, will hold the government, whichever government, 10 years to come, that government will be held accountable. Therefore, it's not a question of the present government or tomorrow government. Government is government. Therefore, any government that is in place must take deep-seated interest in the security. That is why they use the Security and Exchange Commission to do due diligence, the MPRA will do due diligence. And apart from that, I don't think that government will have the right to impose a fund manager all alone. And the workers cannot impose a fund manager all alone. I think if they all make some mistakes along the line, corrections will have to be made.
Okay.
Whoever did whatever, corrections should be made.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Mr. Austin Gallop. We've just run out of time. And, of course, this discussion, obviously, will continue. There are other angles to it, and you should expect that on JNA Interactive with Aqua Harrison, which comes on your screen shortly. Stay with us.